Have you ever wondered what it's like to have a stepmom and stepsister at the same time who's also the same person?
What the f?
Neither have I, but that's what Death Stranding is all about. In this video, I'll be explaining the entire story of Death Stranding in as succinct of a way as possible so you can get the big picture before you play the sequel, in case you just want to skip the first one or simply want to recap. We'll go over how the Egyptians were probably cosmic aliens, what happens if an incel is actually as hot as the pizza you can deliver for them, and why this little guy does this. So stick around as I present to you the full story of Death Stranding 1 Explained. Like the video now. So if you've never touched Death Stranding before, this prologue is going to feel like a bit of a trip, but don't worry, I'll be your guide every step of the way. Here's the big idea. We start off introduced to our main character, Sam Porter Bridges. Yes, that's his real name. And yes, everyone's name in this world sounds like it was generated by ChatGPT. Anyway, Sam's going full speed on his bike when it starts to rain. But this isn't just any rain, it's called timefall, and the moment it hits anything that's living, plants, animals, even people, it rapidly ages and eventually kills them. So yeah, rain, bad rain. Sam's racing to get away from the rain when, bam, he nearly runs over some mysterious woman who just poofs out of thin air on impact. Then his bike goes off a cliff. He makes his way over to a cave to wait out the storm, and... ruh-roh. Just under cover from the timefall, Sam starts getting this weird rash, and the hairs on his arms stand up, which in this world means you're not alone. And then we see them. Not visibly, not yet. Instead, it's just a sequence of black tar handprints. Wet, seemingly heavy, yet invisible creatures move around, growling. It's not the most pleasant experience. Sam tries to grab a photo he dropped when out of nowhere, that same mystery woman appears again, stopping him. The two of them just stand there in horror as this weird cosmic entity just, does its thing for a little while before eventually leaving. When it's over, Norman Fetus and Teleporting Lady glance up at the sky, which is where we see 5 floating ghost figures. Creepy. The woman finally introduces herself. Her name is Fragile. She sees that Sam is crying, which in this world means you're allergic to chiralium, a weird ghost mineral thing that exists in the air around the BTs, which by the way is short for beached things, these ghost monsters basically. Fragile explains that the people who are sensitive to this stuff have a condition called dooms, and it comes in levels. The higher your level, the more you can interact with the ghosty stuff. Sam says he can only sense the BTs, which she says makes him a level 2. She's higher. Also, she shows her hand, which is all old and wrinkly. Long story short, she apparently got soaked neck to toe by timefall somehow, so now her entire body, aside from her head, is old and wrinkly now. Anyway, she disappears again, as you do, and Sam gets back to his original job. He's a porter, after all, delivering cargo through the actually very beautiful wastelands. When he gets to a nearby town and finishes his run, he's told to meet someone outside, a guy named Igor from Bridges Corpse Disposal. He rolls up in a truck and says hi, reaching out to shake hands, but Sam, he don't do that type of shit, because, see, Sam has a fear of being touched. He likes his personal space. Igor loads Sam into the truck, and we're introduced to something extremely important to the lore: dead bodies. If someone dies in this world and isn't incinerated fast enough, specifically within 48 hours, they go necro. And if they go necro, they turn into a VT. But that's not all. From there, something called a void out happens, which is basically a nuclear explosion made of tar, ghosts, and broken dreams. It just so happens that the body that Sam and Igor and the driver guy are transporting currently is like over 40 hours old. The victim died by killing himself, apparently, which wasn't expected. People don't seem to do that much these days. Not that there really are that many people these days. Nonetheless, it's a ticking time bomb. Sam's like, why don't we burn it here? And Igor's like, no, we can't. It would release too much chiralium in town. People would start crying and seeing ghosts and shit. So they head towards the incinerator, knowing damn well the route is crawling with BTs, and Sam warns them. But Igor seems to think it's doable. This is a bridge baby, or BB, which is a literal baby inside a jar strapped to Igor's chest. When you plug it in, it gives you visibility of the BTs. I'm not joking, this is the actual science. You hook up a baby to yourself and you gain a fucking ghost radar. Anyway, as the timefall picks up, the BTs arrive not long after. Shit's getting a little intense, which is to say everything is going to hell. The body is leaking gravity-defying black juice, BB's panicking, and they crash. When Sam wakes up, the body's face is turned gold. It has this weird skull mask made of chiralium. Then it starts twitching and sinks into the ground. As you're probably thinking by now, yes, this body has just turned into a BT. They try and be quiet, holding their breaths as the BT sniffs around, but the corpse is too far gone. Tar is bubbling. The BT brushes past some of Sam's blood, which gives it kind of a weird reaction. The driver of the vehicle, it turns out, got pinned down. A perfect little snack for the BT. It rushes towards the driver, and yoink, he starts getting taken to the back rooms before Igor puts him out of his misery. If things couldn't get more convoluted from here, a golden masked man appears. No name, no intro, he's just there. He shushes Sam, and suddenly the ground collapses into a pit of tar as Igor freaks out and gets grabbed. Realizing he's basically fucked, Igor tosses Sam the BB and tries to shoot himself before he gets yoinked. Yeah, he was too slow. Literally me when there's bugs under my skin. Get them out! Get them out! Sam watches as a massive BT devours Igor, and then, boom, a void out. Sam wakes up on a desolate beach with dead whales everywhere. He sees the baby and picks it up, trying to comfort the little guy, but it vanishes. All that's left are little baby handprints in black tar. Off in the distance, those 5 floating figures are back again. Then a woman, yes, a second mystery woman, walks into the ocean while singing "London Bridge is Falling Down." For some reason, Sam follows her, and then blah 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 blah. He's pulled underwater. Underwater, there are giant Lovecraftian creatures and what look like bodies just floating around everywhere. And Sam ends up finding himself, who then promptly vores the camera. And this is where we get the most legendary shot of all time, and perhaps the most iconic little moment Death Stranding is most known for. BB gives you the thumbs up. Absolute cinema. We get a strange, distant memory from the perspective of BB before waking up for real this time. Sam coughs up some tar, delicious, and looks around as he stands at the edge of a massive crater, taking in the horrific sight that's paired with an equally eerie stillness. So that was the prologue. We've got babies in jars, ghost nukes, invisible monsters, golden skull guys, and black mucus. So yeah, welcome to Death Stranding. And this, my friends, is only the tip of a very confusing iceberg. But by the end of this video, my #1 goal is to ensure that you understand all of what the hell is happening. So without further ado, let's truly begin with Chapter 1, where we're going to talk about America, corpses, and what happens when you piss off the spirits of your ancestors by becoming an Amazon delivery driver. But hey, at least you don't have to piss in bottles. You wake up cuffed to a hospital bed. Kinda hot. But there's also a dude staring at you. He says you're back in the world of the living. Cool, casual necromancy. He calls himself Deadman, and yes, that's his real name. Apparently he used to be a coroner, but now he's just a divorced life coach. He zaps your wrist cuff and frees you, explaining that said cuff is also a communications device, and a tracker, and your ID. Basically, it's a Black Mirror Apple Watch. Deadman casually drops that you're a repatriate, meaning when you die, you don't stay dead. You just respawn like a survivor from Ark, so you can be one who tries again. Sadly, Igor and the driver are not so lucky. They don't get to try again. As Deadman says, the explosion wiped out central Knot City completely. He also says the bridge baby is being decommissioned, marked for disposal, despite the little guy helping you not die. As it turns out, you're currently in capital Knot City, Bridge's new HQ. Deadman notices a handprint on your skin, then recognizing you have aphanphasmophobia, your fear of being touched. Anyway, your new friend gives you a delivery. Bring morphine to the President of the United States, who's dying and who's asked for you specifically. You walk the meds over and continue. Or you spin in circles like me for an eternity, contemplating what the actual fuck this game is all about for 7 minutes, and then enter the sterile compound. The president is your mom, Bridget. Next to her is a guy with a skull mask called Die Hardman, and he's actually the director of Bridges. Deadman realizes you were part of a past but very important project called Bridges 1, and Die Hardman says it's been 10 years since you've seen each other. Bridget wants to see you alone, Hardman says, so he leaves you to it. For some reason, Sam hates her, but the president says that she needs him to listen to her at least this once. Amelie, a younger woman, has led the Bridges 1 expedition that went west with the goal of reconnecting America physically and digitally. Bridget begs you to go after her since Amelie is in danger and has since been captured. Princess Peach type shit. Sam doesn't want anything to do with it, but oh, okay, well that's mildly terrifying. Why is there black stuff coming out of her? She crawls towards you desperately.
So you are willing to help me?
No, I...
I love you, Sam. I'll be waiting for you on the beach.
Deadman and Die Hardman rush in, but she's gone. Die Hardman tells you that you're now officially part of Bridges. And your first job is to take the president's corpse to a somewhat nearby incinerator, because if you don't, she'll turn into a BT, and we've all seen how that turned out last time. Deadman says the incinerator is up in the mountains, far from the city, placed there so the chiral matter in the smoke doesn't poison everyone. As you head out, Deadman reminds you, all corpses go necro after 48 hours. That's when they become BTs, and that is when things go boom. You reach the incinerator, cremate your mom, and if things couldn't get worse,
Chiralium density in the area is climbing rapidly. Heavy timefall is imminent. Get back here, now.
a massive timefall storm rolls in, and yo, what the fucking inverse rainbow appears. Okay. Chiralium density is spiking, so it's important that you get the hell out of there. But before you can leave, Die Hardman asks you to burn one more thing. Your BB. You think about it, but then power outage. Okay, the BTs are on the hunt. Remember, if you die out here, it'll trigger a void out. You'll come back just fine, but this whole area, poof. So you decide, fuck this, I'm not dying, and hook yourself up to the BB. We get another flashback where this dude says he's BB's father, before we snap back to reality and, oh hey, look, ghost radar time. Now, if you're a dumbass like me, you almost immediately alert the BTs because the claps of your ass cheeks were just too loud. Why am I so shit at this fucking game? With the BB active, you sneak or get molested like me. The black people. Through the BT-infested storm and make it back to capital, not city. Deadman greets you, but says he still wants to dispose of the BB, to which you say, nah. He then mentions the president seeing you soon. You reply, I just cremated her. Deadman gives no follow-up, but he takes the BB for inspection. Confused and exhausted, you go to sleep. What a day, huh? Well, if you thought the events that have transpired thus far are crazy, just you wait until tomorrow. You're on that beach again. Looks like a flashback or a dream of some kind. A blonde woman walks across the sand towards a young boy, calling him Sam. Hey, that's you. She gives you a little dream catcher and says she'll always be with you, before it cuts to black. You then wake up in your room before Die Hardman and Deadman call you. Get to the president's office, they say, which, again, what president? Nonetheless, you go, and when you arrive, Die Hardman gives a whole dramatic speech about America not being dead yet, which is optimistic considering there are oil people no-clipping out of the ground and nuking shit, but regardless, Deadman then steps aside and reveals the same blonde woman from your dream. This is Amelie. She's Bridget's daughter, so kind of like technically your sister. Die Hardman says it's been 10 years since you last saw her. Sam notices she hasn't aged, to which she explains her body is on the beach, like permanently. They drop her full name too. Samantha America Strand. You can have a more American middle name than that, unless your middle name was gun violence. She's now the new president of the United Cities of America, UCA. Bridges is trying to reconnect the country under her leadership. So basically what happened was that Amelie led Bridges 1 westward over 3 years, linking cities and avoiding BTs. They left selective members of Bridges 1 behind at outposts to maintain the chiral network terminals, and eventually Bridges 1 made it all the way to Edge Knot City in the west, but then the team got wiped out. Amelie was captured by a terrorist group called the Homo Demens, Latin for madmen. But what's worse, you realize their leader is Mr. Golden Mask Shushman, the same dude who randomly appeared while everything was going to shit earlier. Homo Demens cause intentional void outs to nuke towns on purpose, and Sam guesses that maybe the corpse that nuked Central Knot was their doing. Sounds about right. Anyways, the boys ask you to continue Amelie's mission and travel west, visiting all the old Bridges 1 outposts and using their terminals to activate the chiral network. They give you a Cupid, a weird USB necklace that unlocks said terminals. Oh, and while you're at it, you need to rescue Amelie once you make it to the west. No big deal. Sam's like, nah, I'm Sam Porter Bridges now, not Sam Strand. Ouch. Bro does not care about having a sister, I guess. He storms out, passing through Amelie's chiral projection, but after Die Hardman follows Sam, begging him to reconsider, he gives it a little thonk. Oh hey, and Jar Baby's back. Suddenly you're on the beach again. Amelie's standing over you. She tells you,
You're Sam Strand.
no, I'm Sam Porter Bridges.
Strand, Sam boy.
Just Sam.
Strand.
Sam, stop.
Strand.
Cut it.
Why am I giggling?
Amelie starts talking about the meaning of strand, as in rope, bond, connection, all that Kojima symbolism. Then she gently takes your dream catcher off and places it in your hand. She says you're still connected, before walking into the ocean. Then a planet explodes? Okay. You wake up in your room again with the Dreamcatcher in hand. You get a call from two new characters, Mama and Hartman. Then Die Hardman shows up in person to ask you if you'll do the job. He gives you the Cupid, and at long last, Sam finally caves, but only to help Amelie not to rebuild America. He's a good brother. Alright, now here's what you need to know. Terminals are called knots. Right now, they only transmit tiny bits of data like text and voice and stuff, but when connected, they'll allow for massive data sync between cities, enough to rebuild lost knowledge. Deadman pops in and asks if you want him to dispose of your old boots, but you instead ask him to look into why BTs react weirdly to your blood, since that had briefly happened during the incident. You get on your elevator and begin your first quest, plugging in BB before flashback. This is gonna happen a couple more times. Die Hardman has you starting small, linking nearby outposts to strengthen the network signal. The goal is to reach Port Knot City next. So you link up some outposts, hopefully avoiding enemies on the way and not getting chased by the black people and subsequent black fucking creature that will chase you if they grab you too much. What the fuck, Kojima? Wait, why? What is this, huh? BB starts feeling sick, which is understandable if you just reverse swam through 100 meters of cosmic oil horror, so you return to your room. Deadman gives us the lore dump that BBs are fetuses taken from brain-dead pregnant women called still mothers. Their brains are dead, but their bodies are alive, making the BBs a kind of natural bridge to the world of the dead. Hence, bridge baby. If the BB gets too stressed, it needs to go back to the lab where they can simulate womb conditions. Gotta recharge it, you know. More Sam resting later. Then we hear Amelie give you a pep talk. Connecting America is the only way to save humanity. That's it. Nothing more to be said. Hallucination over, you talk to Deadman about how you keep seeing things when you connect with BB, but he says it's bleed through. Basically, BB's memories are blending into yours. You keep linking more outposts before you get a call. Turns out your blood really does hurt BTs, so now the gang is developing the very first anti-BT weapons using your sweet, spicy, ghost-killing blood. Before you head to Port Knot City, Die Hardman tells you the first weapon is ready, a prototype called the Hermetic Grenade. Cool. Blood grenades in hand, you head to Port Knot City, give them the Wi-Fi password, and you're hunky-dory. The UCA rep tells you the only ship to cross the lake, which you'll in fact need to cross in order to head west, belongs to Fragile Express. Yes, that Fragile. She's agreed to ferry you to Lake Knot City, your next destination. So you head outside, and suddenly... Wait, hold on, huh? Wait, no, I left my edibles in the bunker! Wait! After the surprise oil molestation, you find an actual molester in front of you, Golden Mask Prick. So this fucker's name is Higgs, and he gives himself the title of the particle of God that permeates all existence. Humble. He teleports right in front of you, sniffs you, just inhales your lore. Then he reveals he knows Bridget is dead, that Amelie's president now, and that he just knows everything, I guess, even the truth of the Death Stranding. Amelie isn't like you or him. He says she's something so much worse, an extinction entity. Before you have time to process any of the new information that you just unlocked, Higgs starts pulling something out of the oil. Oh, what's it gonna be? Oh. Boss fight! After you kill the thing, Hartman calls, saying you're the first person to ever kill a BT. Your car, your soul, is literally rejected by the beach. Nice car! Your blood is just special, letting you send BTs back to the dead. Now, would you look at that? The ship's ready. Next stop is Lake Knot City. You head to the harbor to leave for Lake Knot City, but suddenly, bam, Fragile teleports behind you and she asks if you want a snack. This little crypto biote thing, before she quickly devours it whole. You're not sure if you should be hungry or afraid. Either way, as you walk and chat, Fragile gives you the rundown on Higgs. She says he's got at least Doom's level 7, meaning he's basically really good at ghost interfacing. Also, they used to work together. You're like, so you work with terrorists often? She says he wasn't always that way, which is exactly what people say about exes who try to nuke cities. She then presents the boat you'll be taking across the lake. During the voyage, Fragile joins you on deck and notices you dropped your photo again. Seriously, Sam, get a zipper pocket. She hands it back to you and starts to ask you for help with Higgs, but realizes you've already passed out with the photo in your hand. Oh. Cut to a foggy ship deck as everything's covered in mist and you hear the clicking of heels. You're awoken by Amelie and she asks if you remember. You look over the edge of the ship and below, a memory version of her is speaking to child you. She says it's time to go home and that she'll be waiting for you on the beach. Back in the present, Amelie tells you she can't leave the beach until the chiral network is finished. So she takes the photograph from you and tells you to meet her on the beach. You wake up and Fragile is once again holding a crypto biote, asking, "Need to pick me up?" But you're more concerned that your photo's missing. You connect Lake Knot City and then Amelie's hologram appears. She explains that a year ago, there were 3 Knot cities, Lake, Middle, and South, and that Fragile Express ran deliveries between them. But there were some terrorist nuke attacks, and Middle Knot was completely wiped out, with half of South Knot being destroyed as well. The network infrastructure was obliterated, so Die Hardman tells you to link up preppers, these lone survivors and bunkered weirdos that can basically help rebuild enough of a signal to reach South Knot. You get some rest and end up back on the beach. You approach Amelie, but a child you walks past and gives her a kipu, a knotted necklace. She says it must be special if it made it to the beach and that she'll treasure it. You wake up and Fragile's there. Yep, crypto buyout time again, of course. This time though, she also hands you a misanga, a bracelet that identifies you as an ally of Fragile Express, so the locals don't enact the stand your ground law. It is America after all. She explains this area used to be their territory until Higgs ruined it. Also, Fragile possesses the ability to teleport using beaches, but it kind of drains her. She offers these teleporting services in exchange for one thing: consider helping her stop Higgs. As you head up the elevator and link up to your BB, you get another vision. Die Hardman assigns you to expand the chiral network by activating proper terminals around the region. As you make deliveries to the different shelters, the locals have mixed opinions. Some think Fragile's a hero, while others say she's a traitor working with Higgs. But speaking of Higgs, it's around this time you get a bit of a strange order. See, somebody named Peter Englert wants you to deliver a fresh, piping hot pizza to them. But it just so happens that Peter Englert is actually Higgs. You weren't supposed to know that though, but the hint we get after the delivery is pretty on the nose. While I carry this pizza across the train, I might as well tell you about the game sponsoring our video here, One State. It's this new mobile game for Android and iOS, and it's kinda insane how deep it goes. Imagine GTA, but it's a living city full of real players, and they've all got their own agendas. Cops, gangsters, taxi drivers, medics, smugglers, everyone's real. No bots, no BS. It kinda sounds like Dark RP from Gary's Mod. You can just pick up your phone, and suddenly you're cruising through a massive open world based on LA, listening to actual music. Yes, they literally just added radio stations so you can blast that shit while you speed away from a 5-star wanted level. Meanwhile, I'm out here risking my spine for a fucking pizza. In One State, I could be running a business empire or robbing one. The whole economy is run by players. Buy properties, flip cars, hustle however you want. Or go full chaos and start turf wars. You can join factions like the cops or the military, or just dip into the criminal underworld and form a clan, which, oh yeah, now has diplomacy. That means alliances, betrayals, wars, real Game of Thrones type shit. Scan this QR code or use my link down below to download One State and slap in my promo code for a $10,000 in-game bonus to kickstart your criminal dreams or law-abiding life if you want to roleplay like it's a Christian Minecraft server. I don't judge. Also, if you bring your friends in through the referral system, you can get rewards and track their progress, like Pokemon Go, but for crime. There's also daily rewards, so you can pretty much hop on every single day and get something out of it at the very least. Oh, shit, my Robolegs battery's out. Oh, God, can't let the pizza tip over. Anyway, go play One State. It's free, it's chaotic, it's real players. We love that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta get this soggy box of cheese to an incel. Marvelous. After you get some rest, you again wake up on the beach, looking down, seeing that your hands are wrinkled and aged. You jolt awake and hear someone showering. Oh, hi there. Fragile is finally ready to tell you her story. It turns out Higgs used to run a delivery company out west, and since they needed each other's resources, they partnered up. A year ago, terrorists hijacked Fragile Express's system. They tricked porters into delivering guns and bombs instead of medicine, and all of this under Fragile's nose. Worst of all, Higgs tricked her into delivering the nuke that destroyed Middle Knot City. Now you're prepping to deliver to South Knot, but something's off. You go to grab your order, error. System refuses to process it. Then this weird, awkward bridge employee shuffles over, saying he has some kind of special delivery for Fragile herself and tells you to be careful. It's fragile. Before then awkwardly shuffling away like a fucking incel. Small thermonuclear weapon? What? You rest on your way to South Knot and have a dream about your run-in with the bridge's employee. Wait a minute, hold on. That guy was Higgs. You jolt awake and Fragile immediately teleports to you. What's wrong? You explain the package and she rushes to get it and opens it up. It is a nuke! A literal ticking nuclear bomb aimed at South Knot City. Fragile tells you to quickly take it to a nearby bottomless pit of tar. If you can toss it in, then the tar will contain the explosion. So you gear up as fast as you can, and ideally don't fall into the fucking ravine like I did. God damn it! Fuck! Oh fuck, no. How do you get out? Oh, that's how you get out. Okay. This didn't happen. Tell no one. All right, we're there, and check the nuke in. Boom! Boom, 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 boom. Wow, that was kind of satisfying. South Knot is now safe, so you and Fragile catch your breath at the crater's edge, and she finally kind of shares what really happened back then. She tried to stop the second one to save South Knot, but Higgs was waiting. He caught her and made her strip. Then he summoned Timefall and licked her face like an absolute creep. Wait, why did he go from cool masked villain to anime pervert? What the fuck is happening? He gave her a choice. Take the nuke to the crater and risk aging, or teleport away and save herself. She chose to run through the storm with the nuke. Her body got horribly aged by the Timefall, but she made it. She asks you to fight Higgs so that she can finish him off and get her revenge. And you're like, yeah, okay. Then she's like, here's a worm. And you're like, Yeah, I don't know why she's so into that. Anyway, time to finish the delivery to South Knot. You connect the terminal and Amelie's hologram appears, but cuts out mid-sentence. Die Hardman contacts you and gives you some bad news. Her signal is gone. Suddenly, Mama jumps in, and she tells you that there's been a massive spike in chiral energy nearby, and it might have disrupted Amelie's connection. Die Hardman tells you to go check it out, so you head outside, which is where you see a gigantic storm brew overhead, and suddenly you're lifted into the air, tornadoed into the chiral storm. I mean, you are pretty close to Kansas, if the map display that appears when you link up to a terminal is accurate. You wake up on a battlefield, like full-on World War I type shit. Mud, fire, screaming, it's not good. Then suddenly you get a scene of a man rising from the tar. He's surrounded by skeletal soldiers, all of them dripping black ooze. He's got these umbilical leashes tying the soldiers to his belly. Talk about extreme ownership, holy shit. He stumbles and falls, barfing up black tar as he coughs and grunts. There's a creepy baby doll in the mud beside him, making this whole scene kind of look like a Silent Hill fever dream. But he stands up, face shadowed, eyes cold, and gestures forward, ordering his troops to charge into battle. This is the man known only as the combat veteran, but he seems familiar. Hey, wait, that's BB's dad! You push forward, dodging spectral grenades and trying not to get pegged by skeletons, until eventually you make it to the trench line and it cuts to combat vet sitting like a spider at the center of a barbed wire web filled with dolls. He wakes up, frees himself, and lights a cigarette like it's a fucking everyday Tuesday, before he summons a rifle out of thin air, and now it's time to fight him. Eventually, you take him down, and he collapses to the ground. But not for long. When you approach him, he suddenly snaps awake and grabs your BB. He looks at you with a protective look of pure rage, and you get a vision of the vet holding BB in a hospital. Then you wake up back outside, exactly where you were before the storm. Mama calls you, and she's like, hey, are you good? You're like, bro, I was in a war zone with a soldier dude, and there were tar skeletons, but she cuts you off, saying that the storm only lasted a second. From her perspective, you walked outside and boom, storm gone immediately. You try to assure her that you're telling the truth, but she doesn't buy it, saying the comms were only down for a second. Anyway, you tell her that you're on your way to see her, and she says that she wishes she could meet you halfway, but she can't because of her child. So with that, you set out towards Mama's lab, after whatever sleep paralysis tornado shit that was. Good times. When you arrive at Mama's shelter, your BT detector starts flashing and beeping, warning you that something not alive is probably nearby. But you push your way inside, cautiously following the detector. The air is heavy, almost still, and from above, there's a gentle jingling. A baby mobile is spinning softly in the ceiling light. And then, without warning, the power cuts out and everything goes dark. That's when you hear this baby crying, but it's not a normal baby. You look up and you see handprints, tiny, black, tar-soaked handprints crawling across the ceiling. And just beyond them, something takes form, the BT of a baby, suspended in the dark, watching you. You instinctively slap a hand over your mouth and back away, trying not to make a sound, but Mama's calm voice breaks the tension. She tells you not to worry, the baby's not actually going to hurt you, and she walks up and hey, baby descends. The baby, in fact, is friendly, at least for now. Without hesitation, she begins breastfeeding it. This entire situation is hauntingly peaceful and very cursed. Nonetheless, that eerie calm is broken again when you notice something even stranger. The baby has an umbilical cord, and it's not just floating, it's connected directly to Mama's stomach. Naturally, you ask what the hell is going on. Mama answers plainly, this baby, she's her daughter. You begin conversing with her and talking about the storm from earlier. The ghost trench, cliff, the skeleton soldiers, all that. She has you pull up your cufflink log, and sure enough, the data confirms your story. Something happened to you that shouldn't even be possible. Mama suggests you may have been trapped in some kind of warped space-time, maybe even another dimension. Bridges HQ is investigating it, but there are still more questions than answers. Her baby starts crying again, a bit louder, and she explains that since the chiral network has been expanding, chiral density in connected areas has started to spike. She's anticipated some growth, but this is far beyond her projections. Something's very wrong. She goes on to explain that she had installed limiters inside the Cupid to prevent exactly this, to keep the chiral levels from getting out of control. But now those safeguards don't seem to be functioning. If the limiter failure continues and the network expands too quickly, it could result in further storms, or worse, another Death Stranding. She gives you a replacement Cupid with the correct limiter hardware installed, but tells you it won't truly be safe until the software side of things is repaired too. And she can't do that because she didn't write the software. That job belonged to someone else, a Bridges 1 member named Lockney, who can be found at Mountain Knot City. You ask Mama how any of this happened, how her child ended up like this, and she tells you the story. She was in a hospital waiting for a C-section when terrorists launched an attack. She was trapped under the rubble for days, and eventually she gave birth. But the baby didn't make it. Only, it didn't leave either. The infant's cries were still heard in the ruins, especially whenever timefall stopped, which attracted the first responders and saved Mama's life. But the baby's spirit remained, becoming a BT. And because of the baby's link to the hospital, Mama became bound to it. That's why she built her shelter right next to the ruins. She literally couldn't go any further. Before you leave, she asks to draw some of your blood for analysis. When she takes your hand, you notice something strange though. She's cold. Not just chilly, like actually cold. When she lets go, your skin doesn't react the way it usually does when someone touches you. No rash. You start to ask her if she's something, but she cuts you off with just a look. You don't press the question. She sees you off, and shortly after, Die Hardman contacts you with your next task. Head to Mountain Knot City and find Lockney. You ask if there's any update on Amelie, but he tells you no, just keep moving forward. You get some rest before you trek, and just like always, you wake up on the beach. BB's lying in the sand, crying. You pick them up, hold them close, trying to soothe them, but when you look up, Amelie is standing there, reaching towards you. You look down again, and BB's been replaced with a doll. Its face is blank and lifeless. You toss it away instinctively, and when you look back up, Higgs now stands behind Amelie. Without saying a word, he drives a knife into her shoulder and rips the quipu from her neck. That's when you snap awake in your room. Amelie's standing over you again, or at least her hologram is. She tells you Higgs reached Edge Knot City and wiped it out, and that now she's trapped. She was only barely able to reach you. You ask her about the quipu, the necklace she always wore, but she avoids the question. She warns you that this might be your last chance to speak with her before things get worse. You try again, asking where the quipu went, but she gets nervous and evasive. Finally, she tells you she'll be waiting for you on the beach, and disappears. After that, Deadman calls. He tells you that he's uncovered new information about bridge babies. Apparently, Bridges didn't invent BB tech. A separatist group had already started using BBs 3 years ago, which was around the same time Bridges 1 was gearing up to go west. Once Bridges found out, they decided to copy the tech to level the playing field. Deadman theorizes that's where your BB came from. He also mentions that BB experiments actually started long ago, around the time of the Death Stranding, in Manhattan. The result? A void out that wiped out the city and killed the President of the United States. After that, Bridget, your mother, became president. She publicly shut down the BB program, but somehow it found its way back, and no one knows how or why. You reach Mountain Knot City and are immediately yelled at by a woman who looks and sounds a lot like Mama. You ask if she's her, but she says no. Turns out she's Lockney, Mama's twin sister. You try to get her help fixing the Cupid, but she refuses, still angry, distant, and unwilling to reconnect. Die Hardman fills in the blanks, and he confirms that Mama's real name is Malingen, and that the two sisters used to be so close they could speak across vast distances through some form of connection, and that they both have dooms. People even said they were a single person split into two bodies. You know, this is kind of reminding me of a little-known game. I think it has, Ring in the name. But after the accident, their bond broke. Lockney left Bridges, and neither one ever reached out. You return to Mama, and she hands you a new cufflink, which includes a weapon called a cord cutter, essentially a glowing ghost scissors. She explains that BTs are connected to the other side by invisible umbilical cords, and this tool lets you sneak up and sever that tether, sending them back to the beach. She also confirms how void outs happen. A BT, antimatter, touches a living human, matter, and boom, complete annihilation. Then she asks you to use the cord cutter on her. She says the baby isn't truly hers. She can't produce eggs. Lockney, on the other hand, has a uterine issue and can't carry a child. But Lockney fell in love with another Bridges member and wanted a baby with him. When he died in an accident, Mama could feel how badly her sister wanted to die just to be with him again. So Mama made her a promise. She offered to carry Lockney's child, using one of Lockney's eggs, fertilized with her partner's frozen sperm. She carried the baby to term, but then the terrorist attack happened and everything went sideways. Mama got trapped, the baby died, she became bound to it, and couldn't leave the hospital. Lockney never knew the truth, and she thought that Mama had just taken the child and disappeared. You cut the cord, and Mama says goodbye to the baby. Then she asks you to take her to Lockney. You strap her in and begin the journey, but suddenly you're interrupted by Higgs. He drops in like the smug freak he is and summons a giant lion-shaped BT to attack you. You can fight it or flee, but either way, you eventually escape and make it to Mountain Knot. You lay Mama on a stretcher as Lochne runs out. She touches her forehead to her sister's, and in that moment, they reconnect. Chiral particles shimmer in the air around them. Lochne sees everything. Mama asks her to fix the Cupid, saying her goodbyes and begging her to save the world before dying. Lochne gives you the repaired Cupid, saying that she thinks Mama deliberately sabotaged the original one just to have an excuse to see her again. And then Lochne drops a bombshell. Mama actually died in the hospital collapse. Her Ka, her spirit, passed on, but her Ha, her body, remained, bound to the BT. That's why her cufflink was half attached, so Bridges couldn't monitor her vitals and realize she wasn't alive. That's also why she felt cold and why touching her didn't cause any of the usual Doom's reactions. You activate the terminal, and just as you finish, Lochne senses something. She calls out, "Sis?" And from beyond, you hear Mama's voice reply, "We're whole again." One of Lochne's eyes flashes a different color, Mama's color. The two sisters are now joined again in one body, spiritually reunited in a way that defies all explanation. It's weird and haunting, but it's also one of the most emotional moments in the entire game. Die Hardman calls one last time. He tells you that based on all the data pulled from your cufflink during the trench storm, it looks like you were actually in a World War I battlefield, over 100 years in the past. He says it might have been a beach, but no one can confirm yet because their beach expert, Hardman, is still offline, outside the chiral network. Your orders now? Get some rest. You're gonna need it. You wake up and immediately sense something is off. The room feels too quiet. And then it hits you. Lou is missing. Wait, who's Lou? Oh, right. That's the name you gave your BB. Look at you getting attached to a glowing fetus in a pod. Adorable. Just then, Deadman appears, holding your BB. He tells you that Fragile teleported in there, something urgent, and yeah, turns out Lou is not doing well. Deadman sits you down for a real talk. He explains that BBs, bridge babies, are supposed to be suspended between two worlds, the living and the dead. That balance is what gives them their power. But Lou's been spending too much time on the alive side of things, getting too used to cuddles, comfort, and crying in your arms. If that balance isn't restored, Lou will stop functioning as a BB altogether. And worse, there's a 70% chance Lou could die if they're removed from the pod. So Deadman says he needs to perform a risky procedure. Cut the connection between you two, then try to manually restore Lou's link to the other side. But it comes with a cost. There's a chance that when the operation is over, Lou's memories of you will be wiped. You obviously don't want this, but Deadman tells you there's no choice. Without the procedure, Lou's as good as gone. You protest. Lou protests harder by pissing all over Deadman's coat the second he tries to pull them away, and realizing they've made their point, Lou is set down gently. Deadman then removes your cufflink and heads into your shower, gesturing for you to follow, which is kind of weird, but okay. So you walk in, and things only get weirder because Deadman turns on the water, soaking you both, and explains that this shower is the only place you're not being monitored. No one from Bridges can listen in here, especially not Die Hardman. And that's when Deadman drops a conspiracy bomb. He reveals that although BB experimentation was officially ended years ago, it actually continued in secret on the direct orders of none other than Bridget Strand, your dead mom, the former president. She believed BBs could eventually be used to access the beach directly and integrate into the chiral network itself. That was her master plan, to unlock the beach as a literal traversable dimension. But Deadman also expresses suspicion. He doesn't know how deep Die Hardman was involved, or whether he was simply following orders or actively in on the plan. The more he's uncovered, the more he believes that there's a hidden agenda at play. He ends the shower scene by putting on a truly Oscar-worthy performance, loudly pretending the two of you were just showering with your clothes on because you wanted to get out of doing laundry. Nice cover, buddy. Once you're back upstairs, Die Hardman contacts you. He says that for now, reconnecting America is on pause because Amelie reported a massive tar belt outside Edge Knot City completely crawling with BTs, and you can't pass through it without Lou. So while Deadman tries to stabilize your BB, you're tasked with helping out in the meantime. Your new mission is to link up nearby preppers to strengthen the local chiral network. Doing this increases the chiral density, which in turn enhances the connection between Lou's pod and their still mother. Remember, the BB's body is still tied to a brain-dead mother in Capital Knot City. So anyway, you set off. As you make your deliveries and bring new shelters online, Deadman keeps checking in, updating you on Lou's condition. Every stop could be the moment he gives you bad news. At one particular shelter, a woman asks you to track down her father's old camera, which apparently has photos of something important. Once you get the camera for her, and her shelter's online, Hartman calls you out of nowhere with some wild info. He says he's combed through the shelter's archives and discovered something ancient. Cave drawings from 3,000 years ago, and they appear to depict BTs. Which would mean this isn't the first Death Stranding. Not even close. In fact, Hartman believes the big 5 mass extinctions in Earth's history may have all been caused by prior Death Strandings. This is just the latest in a repeating cycle. Not long after, Lochnet contacts you, warning that a new mysterious storm is forming, similar to the one that swallowed you before. She also casually confirms that she and Mama are now fully unified, sharing one body, one consciousness. It's kind of creepy, but also kind of sweet. Finally, you bring the last local shelter online, and Deadman tells you the good news. Lou is back to normal, but he's stuck. The storm is too strong for him to return, so he's taken shelter in a cabin near Mountain Knot City. You set out to meet him, and as you push through the blackened storm front, you eventually spot the small cabin nestled in the woods. Deadman sees you approaching and pushes open the door to shout, "Stay back!" But it's too late. The storm rips the cabin apart, and in a moment of pure chaos, you see Deadman and Lou get flung upward into the sky, sucked into the storm, and a moment later, you follow. The chapter begins with Deadman walking at a pretty slow pace while appearing quite scared, traveling across this ruined battlefield under an upside-down rainbow, approaching some abandoned buildings. Above him, what look like twisted spectral BT World War II era planes and a tar-slicked tentacle tank rolls by, accompanied by a marching squad of skeleton soldiers. He ducks into a sewer for cover. It's dark, wet, gross, and things are only going to get worse from here. A wave of black tar floods up to his ankles, and in a panic, Deadman links up with Lou, hoping to use the BB's senses to detect any incoming BTs. But the moment he does, a creepy baby doll drifts down the tunnel, lazily bumping into his leg before continuing to float down the current like it owns the place. Deadman watches it float away, and then it starts flashing red. He sees the soldiers. Helmets low, rifles drawn. The spectrals move like ghosts, like they've been walking this battlefield for a century. And leading them is the combat veteran, fully geared up, just marching forward in silence. The baby doll floats past the vet, brushing his leg, when one of its eyes flicks open and he smirks. Then it cuts to you. You're waking up in the middle of a battlefield, air raid sirens screaming overhead, the world around you locked in the chaos of war. You're in hell pretty much. Again. Deadman calls you over to comms. He says he's holed up in a sewer beneath the square tower, and from what he can tell, you've been dropped into some sort of World War II version of the beach. You tell him to hang tight, but if you're too slow, he might need to run. The vet isn't looking for you, he's looking for Lou, and Deadman is the one holding Lou. You tell him not to sync with the BB because it'll give his location away, to which he awkwardly admits he already did that, and then immediately disconnects from the BB. Before he hangs up, though, he says something that hits hard. He tells you he has no family, no friends, and that he's 70% made of cadavers. Plus, since meeting you, you've opened his eyes. He's officially joined the homie list. Eventually, after fighting your way through a bunch of shit, you find Deadman in the sewers. He hands Lou back to you, and the tension lifts, if slightly. You tell him that you're gonna go after the vet, and he nods and says he's starting to understand now why your BB matters to you so much, before turning and disappearing into the shadows, trusting you to finish this. You push forward and approach a bell tower, but as the bells toll, your head starts ringing violently. Another vision hits. The veteran is asleep again, tangled in his barbed wire nest, surrounded by broken baby dolls. He wakes up, teleporting outside of the tower, eyes locked on your position. The fight begins. After you kick his ass, you approach him, and he mutters to himself, "BB, it's all my fault." He notices the charm hanging from Lou's pod, and something inside of him snaps. He lunges for you, grabbing hold, trying to wrestle you to the ground, but after you rip a pair of dog tags off his neck and see a few visions, you finally wake up, back in your room, but something's wrong. There's bloody handprints on Lou's pod. You scramble over and find one of those damn dolls inside. Then you jolt awake again, this time for real, and Lou's okay. You hold him close as Deadman teleports in, asking how Lou is doing. You say there's no response, but as soon as Deadman takes him, Lou starts giggling. Of course. Deadman explains that both of you were out cold and confirms what you guessed. Defeating the veteran allowed you to escape the storm, but then he gets quiet. Turns out he's been digging into your past. He found out the truth. Lou was the name you and your wife had picked for your unborn child, the one you never got to meet. 10 years ago, there was a sudden death in the middle of a town, unnoticed until it triggered a void out. Your wife, Lucy, was the victim. You couldn't get to her in time. Town was destroyed. You were the only survivor. People blamed you, said you were hiding the body and that it was your fault, and somehow Bridges too. Deadman says he knows that's why you left, and that your mother, Bridget, told him everything. You get pretty angry, but Deadman opens up in return a little bit. Tells you that he was created in a lab, grown from stem cells and stitched together from a patchwork of cadaver parts. He has no birthday, no parents, no car, no soul. He's not really alive. He says that's why they call him Deadman. And then, in a quiet voice, he tells you that the battlefield beach was terrifying, but he wasn't scared because he knew you'd come for him. And no one's ever come for him before. You look down at the dog tags you ripped off Clifford. Deadman glances at them too and confirms the name. Clifford Unger. He ran his name through the bridge's database, former special forces. Anyway, he recommends you take a shower, but says that unfortunately this time he's not going to be joining you. Oh, and also he's disabled Die Hardman's ability to monitor your conversations, so you're officially off the record now. While showering, Hartman contacts you and says he's got some beach lore to drop. Basically, every living person has a Ha, their physical body, and a Ka, their soul. Each Ka has their own beach, a unique one shaped by their beliefs, memories, or even their culture. The beach isn't one place, it's a multiverse, with every beach overlapping and intersecting in weird ways. But when a ton of people die at once, like in a war, their beaches can become entangled, forming a chaotic region called a strand field, where the same violent scenes repeat over and over again. He theorizes that this is why the World War II zone exists, a place where dead soldiers relive the same battle endlessly. And the weird part? You were definitely in Europe, and Clifford Unger was never stationed there. So how was he on that beach? Hartman says it doesn't make sense yet, but maybe expanding the chiral network will reveal more. Later, another vision hits. When you return to base, Die Hardman tells you that the entire western region is blocked off by the massive tar belt outside Edgenot City. It's swarming with BTs, and you're gonna need some help getting through. He says there's one last knot to connect, and that Hartman's going to help, but first, he's requested two things: Clifford's dog tags and Mama's corpse. Okay, yeah, apparently her body hadn't showed any signs of necrosis, and Hartman wants to study it to find out why. It could be a key to solving the Death Stranding. Cool. Before you head out, Lochne arrives with the body. She tells you not to worry about necrosis, because Mama was always special, and maybe her Ha, left behind after her Ka passed on, might actually be the key to saving humanity. No pressure, by the way. You pack up the body, take the tags, and make your way to Hartman's lab, and once it's finally linked to the chiral network, the system tells you to bring Mama's body inside. After you step inside this sleek, quiet facility, you're just kind of hanging out before, boom, a countdown timer appears in the bottom left of your HUD. Until resuscitation remaining time. That's new. In the center of the room is a man reclining in a high-tech chair, completely motionless. A record player spins nearby, playing some music, so you start poking around. There's a family photo, Hartman, his wife, and a daughter smiling in some happier time before the world went full black goop mode. As you reach out to him, the timer hits 0, and suddenly some AI voice kicks in. Administering shock. Hartman jolts awake with a gasp. Very, very cool, normal shit going on. He sits up and then casually apologizes, gesturing to Mama's body on a nearby examination table. He explains, pretty casually, that his heart stops every 21 minutes, and he spends 3 minutes on the beach looking for his wife and child. Then he gets shocked back to life, over and over, all day, every day. That's like 60 deaths and resurrections a day, and he's done it 218,549 times. That's nearly 10 years of constant dying just to search for his family. Call him Hartman, the beach scientist, because his actual heart is shaped like a heart due to a condition called myocardial cordiformia. That's not a metaphor, that's a literal heart-shaped heart. Man's living like a human-shaped Valentine's Day card. What is it with bridges nicknaming their employees after traumatic shit? We have Dead Man, who literally has no soul, Mama, who lost her baby, Hartman, who forces himself into constant cardiac arrest to find his family so he can move on with them. What's next? We're gonna find out that Die Hardman has some traumatic skeletons in his closet that somehow tie into his name? Yes, actually. He gestures out the window toward a heart-shaped lake, then explains that he's not even sure they'll be in the afterlife, because everyone's beach is different. For all he knows, he'll die and end up on some lonely coral wasteland while his family is sipping beach margaritas on a sunny eternity island somewhere else, so he keeps looking because that's all he has left. He reaches out for a handshake and you just stare at him until he awkwardly pulls it back. Welcome to Death Stranding. Shifting gears, he opens the body bag and starts digging around until he eventually pulls out a vial, this shriveled, preserved umbilical cord, except it looks more like a BT's tether than anything human. Then the system chimes again. 5 minutes until Hartman flatlines. Time to cram more lore into your ears. He explains that everyone only gets one beach, their own personal corridor to the world of the dead. But Hartman, his beach touches others. Okay, that sounds kind of weird. He thinks maybe places like that creepy World War II war zone are something different, a collective purgatory formed by people who died with unresolved resentment, hatred, or longing. He theorizes that Clifford's pain, combined with Lou's presence as a catalyst, is creating these battlefield storm pockets. You ask if Higgs is behind it all, if he's the one controlling Clifford and the soldiers. Hartman doesn't know, but if someone is to blame, it probably is Higgs. Then he says, I'll be right back. And of course, kind of just dies right there in front of you. The game then forces you to sit for like 3 full minutes with nothing to do but listen to music and contemplate your existence or your inevitable death, like some kind of fine art simulator. Eventually the timer runs out, the defib kicks in, and Hartman's gasping back into the world again. But now he wants to tell you all about his sad life. He opens up about the day his life fell apart. He was having heart surgery, sedated in an ICU out of town. Meanwhile, his wife and daughter went home to pack some things, and that's when the void outs hit. His family was lost. The hospital survived, but the shockwave knocked out the power. His life support failed and he died. And when he woke up, he was on the beach, surrounded by the other victims of the same twin explosions, all slowly walking into the ocean. He tried to stop one of them, an old woman, but she just put her finger to his chest and whispered, "Shh." Then the defibrillator hit. He surged back into the living world just in time to see his wife and daughter walking away, heading straight into the waves on their way to the world of the dead. And ever since that moment, he's been dying again and again, hoping that he'll find them, hoping he can die properly at the right time in the right place and be with them forever. But not yet. Before he flatlines again, you ask for your assignment. He tells you about a group of researchers who were looking into extinction events, specifically the last one. They were investigating a rise in activity from the tar belt outside Edge Knot, and when it expanded, it swallowed the chiral way station that connected Mountain Knot to Edge Knot. Your task is twinfold. Bring those researchers online, then help build a new way station to serve as the next link west. As Hartman collapses again, Die Hardman calls and unlocks the lab door for you. Back at your terminal, Hartman radios in and confirms what the scientists were trying to uncover, the fossil beach. At the first lab, the researcher shows you chiralium deposits from 65.5 million years ago, right around the time the dinosaurs got fucked. Proof, possibly, that the big 5 mass extinction events were actually Death Strandings. Next researcher is freaking out about a lost ammonite fossil, says it's from 200 million years ago, hasn't decayed, and has a freaking umbilical cord. You track it down, and sure enough, this little sea creature has its cord intact. It's wrapped in tar, and that matches up with another big 5 extinction. Finally, after syncing up the last shelter, Hartman asks you to return to his lab. He has questions. Specifically, did you get an allergic reaction when you met Mama? You mentioned that there was a BT nearby, but he gently suggests maybe Mama herself was the source. Her body is loaded with chiral matter, and her baby, who was also her soul, remained physically tethered to her. Her Ka and Ha never separated. Hartman then explains he altered the system log so your chat is off the record, of course. And then he plays you a hidden message from Deadman, apparently smuggled in with Mama's body. Deadman explains that the umbilical cord Hartman pulled out doesn't belong to Mama, but was actually from your mama. It belonged to Bridget Strand. Deadman had it removed in secret. Because it wasn't attached to a fetus, it was attached to her, like from her navel. She had a BT-style cord herself. Bridget claimed it was the key to understanding the Death Stranding, and she begged Deadman to keep it hidden from Die Hardman. That's why he snuck it in. Hartman then unveils his wild theory. We are already living through the 6th extinction, and he lays out his research. A woolly mammoth from 10,000 years ago, a glacial iceman from 5,300 years ago, a parasaur fossil from the dinosaur age. All of them have umbilical cords, none of them decomposed. He suspects that each of the big 5 extinctions had an extinction entity, a creature tied to the beach, connected to the end of its era through its strand. He believes the trilobite, then the ammonite, the parasaur, the mammoth, and the iceman all represent previous extinction entities. Also, like, all of these creatures, by the way, are in Ark Survival. Okay, like, they got all of these. I mean, the Iceman could easily just be like the fucking homunculus-looking caveman survivor, at least from Survival Evolved, so that's just a weird fucking coincidence. You then ask if Bridget was an EE, an extinction entity as well, but Hartman says there's no way to know for sure since her body is gone. But you explain that Higgs claimed Amelie is an extinction entity, and Hartman admits that it could very well be possible. Then, as his timer runs low again, Hartman warns you this next arrest is real, and you're not to tell Die Hardman anything you just learned. From there, Die Hardman gives you your orders. Go to the tar belt shore and begin construction of a new chiral relay. Hartman chimes in, saying this spot was originally chosen for the way station they lost, so it should work. Once you activate the relay, Die Hardman admits he has no idea how you'll cross the tar. He kind of just leaves it up to you. And of course, like a lunatic, you deliberately alert nearby BTs, triggering a whale BT boss fight. Tar rises, sunken buildings come out, and you're just kind of jumping around, parkouring over the oil. Then you see Amelie standing on the far side. You jump into the tar to reach her, but she just turns and walks away. After you get completely enveloped, you realize something. This isn't just about reconnecting America anymore. We're sinking straight into the heart of extinction itself. Hey, are you liking this video? Myself and the gremlins I chained up in the basement loved making this video. I promise you, they liked it too. Right, guys?
Let me out, please.
Anyway, like this video, and I might let them have some gushers as a little treat. Ensure that you've liked. We know. We know if you. We always know.
Call the police.
No, no, don't say that. Don't go back to the corner. Stay. You wake up on the beach. There's Amelie again, humming the haunting tune of London Bridge is Falling Down as she calmly strolls towards the sea. You follow her, of course, before you suddenly come to, gasping on the opposite shore of the tar belt, coughing up a bunch of sticky black sludge. The moment you try to get your bearings, someone warps in behind you with that signature look. In the puddle at your feet, you catch a reflection of Higgs's golden mask. He doesn't attack you right away, instead he just talks. He says he knows Amelie is in Edge Knot City and that it's all thanks to you. You expanding the chiral network let him trace the connection straight to her. Then he just kind of does some weird teleportation shit, but now he doesn't have his mask. There's cryptic writing carved into his forehead, Egyptian-style eyeliner. This dude he has some negative aura going on. After a little more unhinged monologuing, he offers you a challenge. Let's race to see who reaches Amelie first. Then, poof, he's gone. You're left to activate the nearby Edge Knot City Distribution Center, and Die Hardman radios in. He tells you that once you link Edge Knot, Higgs will be able to pinpoint Amelie's exact location, so you've got to act fast. But first, it's EP time. He sends you to your private room, where you're abruptly awakened by Amelie herself. She reveals her middle name is Amerigo, after the explorer who gave the continent its name.
I thought it was Columbus.
And then she tells the truth. She is the extinction entity. She doesn't want to be, though, but she tells you that if the end comes, it will be her doing. And she doesn't want that to happen. She asks you to stop her if it ever gets that far. You get another vision from BB before heading out to pick up the next item from the Edge Knot connection. And the item is just another bridge baby. Okay. You bring it over, establish the final knot, and Die Hardman gives a proud speech about the rebirth of America. Now the United Cities of America. He gives you one final mission. Bring Amelie home so she can become the next president. Easy, right? You rest again, only this time you're back on the beach. You hear voices, a distorted Sam echoes through the void, and then Higgs appears. You try and talk, but he shushes you, pointing off in the distance. That's when you see her. Giant Amelie towering over the beach like she's about to devour you. Higgs leans close and tells you he needs to show you something. He warps behind you again, pulls off his mask, and underneath is Amelie's face. She whispers that she's the extinction entity before you jolt awake in your room, where some alarms are blaring. You get another BB flashback before heading to the entrance. Outside, something massive is coming through the mist, a giant BT, and on its chest is Amelie. Higgs appears behind you again, all smug and raving. He teleports Amelie in front of you before forcing his golden mask onto her, which changes her. She starts to speak in this weird robotic tone and announces her purpose: to merge all humanity's beaches, triggering the last stranding, a final extinction to end all extinctions. It's her destiny.
Happy fucking doomsday, Sam! Fuck you!
Then he fuses himself and Amelie to the giant BT, and you're forced into a boss fight, a whole-ass kaiju battle, powered by mommy issues. After defeating it, you rush to rescue Amelie, only for Higgs to snatch her first and open fire on you. But just in time, Lou, your BB, deflects the bullets with the fans of your BT detector. Lou just goes full anime protagonist for a second. Higgs turns to leave, but you yell after him. Then he's just like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna actually shoot you now. You slip into the seam, CPB give you a little thumbs up, and swim your way back to life like a fucking man possessed. You stagger to your room and call Fragile. You ask her to teleport you to Amelie's beach. She agrees, but only if you promise to take Higgs alive. She wants her revenge her way. You agree, leave Lou behind, even though it's kind of dumb, scarf down a couple cryptobiotes, and then ask her to look after Lou if you don't make it, at which point she then sends you off. We're back on the beach again. Holy shit, how many fucking times do we wake up on this goddamn beach? Amelie stands over a kneeling Higgs, seemingly surprised that you made it. But Higgs isn't done. He locks Amelie in place with some dark force shit, teleports her away, and she transforms into a tar-soaked spiderweb. He just says some really nihilistic shit, talks about how extinction is inevitable and that there's no repatriation on the beach, and offers you one final duel. After you beat the shit out of him, you try and reach Amelie, but he drags you into a bare-knuckle fist fight. One last little beatdown, just you and him, and then you win. Fuck you, Higgs. Fragile arrives, and the moment Higgs sees her, he kind of panics. You free Amelie, and Fragile just fucking obliterates the little incel before clocking him in the jaw. You drag him somewhere nice and remote, leaving Fragile to have her fun, and then you and Amelie talk. She asks you what took you so long, and you hand her back the Kipu. Fragile returns to you, offering Higgs' mask as a keepsake. You refuse. She also somehow managed to bring Lou along, playing mental gymnastics with teleportation to make it happen. She asks where to send you next, but Amelie cuts in and says there's no need. She can jump you through the chiral network herself. Damn, Fragile's, she's not so special anymore, huh? Amelie turns back to you and admits the truth. She could have escaped at any time. This whole thing, the rescue mission, the network, the country, it was Die Hardman's idea, a way to motivate you. You mentioned something about being Mario and her being Princess Peach, and just when you think things might finally start to make some sense, you hear gunfire. Yeah, that was Fragile, settling her score. Amelie says there's still work to do. Even without Higgs, she's still a walking time bomb, a ticking extinction.
Like Mario and Princess Peach.
You both start running down the beach in slow motion, laughing and smiling, and then you reach the hilltop, where you stop. You follow a few moments later and find a surreal scene. Bridget, your mother, is standing there, healthy, but she's being held at gunpoint by Die Hardman. He's finally been invited to the beach too, and he's ready to settle scores. He accuses her of messing everything up. She just stands there calmly telling him to do it. He pulls the trigger, but the bullets do nothing. She shakes her head. There's no redemption for them. She gestures towards the ocean, and that's when you see them. Skeletal soldiers marching out of the surf, led by Clifford Unger. Die Hardman sees them and collapses. Cliff takes off Die Hardman's mask and asks, "Is it really you?" Hardman answers, "Yes, it's me, John." Cliff remembers and it hits him like a train. Then he raises his gun towards Die Hardman before eventually walking past and aiming it at Bridget, shouting at her to give him back his BB. She tells him he's looking in the wrong place, then points up the hill, at you. So, now you're fucked. Amelie appears behind you, telling you to stay back before shoving you off a cliff. And when you wake up, you're in your private room. Higgs's mask is floating above you, but it's just Deadman. He explains that Amelie had returned you and she left a message. "I'm going to finish what Bridget started." Die Hardman, he's gone. Amelie, also gone. But Cliff, somewhere out there, probably. Deadman says he thinks we were wrong, that Higgs wasn't controlling Cliff, and that Cliff may have been the real mastermind all along. You insist on returning to the beach, but Fragile's pretty worn out, and the chiral spikes are out of control. It's too dangerous to warp people right now. Still, Hartman and Deadman help you prep. They explain that your Dreamcatcher and Amelie's Kipu connect you to her. If Doom's is her shared dream for humanity, maybe your Dreamcatcher is your chance to rewrite that dream. Fragile tries to hand you a crypto buyout, but it's a hologram, and she promptly collapses from exhaustion. After Deadman disappears, you're left with one last goal. Make it to Lake Knot City. You step into the elevator, rising slowly toward Lake Knot City, and yet again, BB shows you something. Oh boy. When you reach the top, Deadman calls you. He's been digging, like he always does, and what he found changes everything. He says that Clifford Unger's retirement from the military happened at roughly the same time as the first Death Stranding. And not only that, but apparently Cliff became intimately tied to the early BB experiments, as in directly involved. Deadman doesn't have the full picture yet, but he suspects this is where all of Cliff's fury comes from. His anger and his torment, his hatred, all this stuff ties back to those experiments. Something that was taken from him. Someone. A little while later, Deadman calls again. His voice has that, "I just found something really fucked up" tone to it. He tells you that the whole thing, bridge babies being used to detect BTs, that was never the original purpose. Their true function was as power sources for the chiral network itself. Living conduits. Every Knot City, every chunk of the network has a BB hidden inside its infrastructure. That's why Die Hardman had you lug that weirdly BB-shaped pod to Edge Knot City. You didn't just light up the grid, you sacrificed something to do it. Let that sink in. The entire network is powered by literal babies suspended in purgatory. Hope you feel real good about that, Sam. Then Deadman calls again, this time with the biggest gut punch yet. He's found proof Cliff willingly gave his own child to the BB program. He trusted a scientist, thinking he was doing the right thing, thinking he would help humanity. But he had no idea. Deadman believes Cliff found out what was really happening, and he tried to rescue his baby and got killed for it. His child, instead of being saved, got absorbed back into the program. Suddenly, Cliff's vendetta against Bridget, against Bridges as well, and the entire fucking world for letting this happen, it all makes sense now. And now he's trying to bring about the last stranding, not just for revenge, but because maybe, just maybe in his grief-ridden mind, it's the only way to end the cycle. Hartman joins the call. He says things are getting worse, like world-ending worse. Individual beaches are beginning to merge together, collapsing into a single massive purgatory. He thinks Cliff has taken control of Amelie's beach, which gives him the power to flood the world with BTs, using those shared beaches as a conduit. In other words, Cliff is probably going to start the final extinction. So you push on to Lake Knot City, and as you approach, the skies get dark. That storm you've come to fear approaches, and you get pulled into it, swallowed by the storm. BB gives you one more vision, but this one is personal. In it, you see Clifford Unger cornered, surrounded, and he's shot. But that's not all. There's something about this memory, something about the way the gun is fired, the way Cliff reacts. It suggests there's more to this story than you were ever told. And then the storm devours you. We open on another haunting visual. The camera sweeps across the dead, dark soil before settling on one of those weird-ass BB dolls again, just sitting there like it knows something you don't. And then a military helicopter appears above. Skeletal soldiers start rappelling down, all of them in tattered Vietnam-era gear, and one of them, the one wearing Die Hardman's mask, no wait, it's not Die Hardman, that's Cliff Unger, fully geared up and giving silent signals like he's on a Black Ops mission. He waves the helicopter off and... okay, welcome to Vietnam, I guess. You're dumped into the dense jungle of the Vietnam War. You make your way through the foliage, but something's not right. Your vision blurs, your knees give out. You double over as the world melts away into that same barbed wire spider web you've seen before. And then he rises from the tar again. Cliff. He strikes a pose, flicks it into the oil, and sets the battlefield on fire. It's boss fight time again. Cliff, like always, commands his squad of skeleton soldiers, but at this point, you're just fucking done with this shit. You dodge everything and just fight him. After you defeat him, you find him slumped up against a log, bleeding and broken. But weirdly, he's not even mad. He looks up at you, reaching for Lou. He hums that song, the same lullaby you've been hearing during the visions you've been seeing pretty much through the whole game. Lou starts crying, and Cliff says, "Give me back my baby." You ask, "Are you Clifford Unger?" He doesn't answer right away, he just looks at Lou, and then the tears start. "Who are you?" You hesitate, but before you can say anything, Lou cries louder. Cliff tries to sing his lullaby again, and this time, you finish it. Lou starts giggling, and then Cliff's eyes widen. He knows. "They told me your name was Sam Porter, but you're Sam Bridges." He smiles, a broken man trying to hold something sacred in his heart one last time. "You're my bridge to the future," he says. It hits you like a goddamn truckload of cargo. Cliff is your father. You were the BB. Those visions, those memories, they weren't someone else's. They were yours. Cliff takes off his dog tags and places them gently around your neck. And in that moment, he finally gets to hold his son in his arms for the first and last time. You hand Lou over, letting Cliff look into the pod, and he smiles through the tears. He hugs you, like he's afraid that you'll vanish again. Suddenly, Cliff isn't in his gear or war paint. He's just in plain clothes. There's a sound of medical monitors beeping from somewhere. It's quiet, peaceful. Then a gunshot, and he's gone. What follows is another BB vision, but this one's different. Now you understand what you're seeing. This isn't someone else's nightmare. It's your own memory from when you were still in the pod, from the days where your life was changed forever. Everything's changed. The journey so far wasn't just about delivering packages, rebuilding America, or stopping extinctions. It was about finding out who you are. And finally, you remember. You wake up back in your private room, and the first thing you do, well, you rush over to Lou, who's now got Cliff's dog tags attached to their pod. Which is weird, considering you just watched your maybe dad disappear into the tar-flavored memory soup a little bit ago. But before you can process that, Deadman appears via hologram. He says someone from Lake Knott found you unconscious by the harbor and dragged you inside. You tell Deadman you think Cliff might be Lou's father, which... Sam, bro, that man literally hugged you and called you his son. You're the BB. What part of this is not clicking? But instead of connecting the dots, Sam speculates that Cliff probably isn't trying to hurt him and that there's some hidden history between Cliff, Die Hardman, and Bridget that nobody's telling him. Deadman, to his credit, agrees, and then, bam, he reveals he found a pre-recorded message from Die Hardman, ominously titled, "If I Don't Come Back." Die Hardman holds up a creepy little BB doll, the kind you've been seeing all over the beaches, and says it's a gift from Amelie. Apparently Amelie's invited him to her beach. He knows it's a trap, but he's going anyway. He admits he knows everyone's been suspicious of him, so he drops the mask. Literally. For a moment, you see his real face, and he confesses that Amelie is a blank slate, a ghost. No past, no social security number, not even a LinkedIn page. Die Hardman continues. He says he's never met her in person, ever. Amelie was part of Bridges 1 Group A, while Mama and Hartman were in Group B, and only Group A had contact with her. And that group, well, they were wiped out in Edge Knot by the terrorists. Deadman pauses the recording. He points out the obvious. Anyone who could confirm Amelie's existence in the real world is dead. You try to argue, saying you've seen her multiple times, but Deadman claps back. On the beach, not in real life. Back to the recording, Die Hardman says Bridges told him that Amelie was born on the beach, that her Ka, her soul, stayed behind while her Ha, her body, came to the real world. but she spent most of her life in hospitals and later developed the ability to move between the beach and the living world with her full physical body. But then he explains that he found a medical record showing that Bridget was diagnosed with uterine cancer in her 20s, meaning that she couldn't have had kids, meaning Amelie was never born the way that she claimed. Die Hardman closes out the video by showing us the gun he's bringing, one loaded with your blood. By having an object with connection between you, him, and Amelie, it'll allow him to bring it with him to the beach. As the feed ends, Deadman starts to put it all together, but suddenly the power cuts out. And when it comes back on, Fragile's here now, ready to fucking tell you a bunch of more shit. She says she spoke with Higgs during that showdown on the beach, and guess what? Amelie was Higgs's leader all along. Yeah, she gave him his power. She orchestrated the terrorist attacks, the void outs, the whole extinction event. You ask what Bridget was doing on the beach, and Fragile says she looked inside Higgs's pod once. There was no BB inside, just another creepy doll. She further explains that the terrorist dolls aren't like bridge babies, where BBs link you to the dead, the dolls link them to Amelie. That's how she's been exerting control over Higgs, Cliff, and now Die Hardman. They theorize that Cliff, Higgs, and Die Hardman were all just pieces on her chessboard, controlled, manipulated. So who is the extinction entity really? Amelie, Bridget, or both? Either way, they say the answers lie on Amelie's beach. That's your next destination. But just as things get juicy, boom, another blackout. Deadman calls you over to the radio this time. Fragile's condition has gotten a lot worse. If she slips into a coma while still entangled with the beach, her soul could get permanently stranded. He begs you to bring her some cryptobiotes to stabilize her, so you pack them up and hit the road. On the way back to Capital Knot, a whale BT ambushes you, but at this point, you know what to do. Inside the city, you learn that Fragile's already slipped into a coma, but you manage to rouse her by basically shoving a cryptobiote in her face. She wants to teleport you again back to Amelie's beach, but Hartman stops her. He explains that Amelie's beach isn't like the others. It's above them, higher in the hierarchy, a kind of meta beach that she alone controls. He warns that if Amelie wants you to stay, you stay. If she wants you to leave, maybe she'll let you. Fragile speculates this whole thing is part of her final wish, to give you one last chance to talk her out of ending the world. And if you fail, well, you'll have to kill her. But if you do, you'll be stranded on her beach forever. Sam says he's ready. You give everyone a final speech asking Deadman to take care of Lou while you're gone. And with one glance back, Fragile grips your shoulder, nods, and warps you to the final confrontation. You wake up flat on your back. Then Amelie strolls up, smiling, and she, for some reason, scoops you up like a little baby. Wait, are you the baby now? She carries you over and then just drops you into the fucking ocean. Yeah, okay, that's the energy we're on now. You reawaken, for real this time, on her beach. The sky is ash, the sea is red, and the shore is littered with dead whales and rotting sea creatures as far as the eye can see. It's hell. You wander in silence until finally sitting down. Then, out of nowhere, Amelie appears again, but this time, she's wearing Die Hardman's mask and speaking in a completely different voice. Then Bridget's voice echoes behind you, and, oh hey, he's back in the hospital bed. It's the same scene from the start of the game, right before she died. You look back over, Amelie removes her mask. Now she's holding Die Hardman's revolver. She tells you flatly, you were supposed to stop her. You ask point blank, are you Bridget? She says yes. So then, where's Amelie? She responds that Bridget and Amelie, they were always the same person, two halves of one being. She is the extinction entity. She raises the gun and points it at you, saying you have two choices. You ask if one of them is getting shot, and she says no, that would be a terrible mistake, and she would know. She's already made it. She explains that the last stranding has already begun. Her beach is forming a seam, a rupture linking to all other beaches connected through the chiral network. Your chiral network, the one that you built. She says that soon all those beaches will collapse, flooded with antimatter from hers, an end that erases all beginnings. And now, the choice. Do nothing, stay with her, let the world end, or cut her beach off from the network. Stop the stranding for now. She hands you the gun and walks into the ocean. If you do what I did and stood there, confused as the gun does nothing to her, she eventually turns around with blood dripping from her eyes and the earth behind her explodes. If you figure it out and put the gun away, you can run after her, hug her, forgive her. That hug slams you into a flashback. Little kid Sam on the beach with Bridget. She gives you the dream catcher, tells you that you'll need it to bring people together and that one day you're gonna need it to stop her. Back in the present, Bridget takes the gun. She says it still has a role to play, but not here, and tosses it aside. She says she's gonna seal herself off, alone, to stop the extinction for as long as possible. She is the beach, and she can't leave it, even if it means waiting tens of thousands of years until humanity fades. She admits she got impatient, that she thought maybe ending it all quickly would be kinder, but now she believes extinction isn't the end. It's the chance to fight back. That life, over and over again, has stared into the abyss and said, not today. She hugs you again, one final time, and whispers, you'll always be connected. Then, with a gust of fire behind her, she shoves you into the sea. You wake up alone. Everything's gray. The world feels dead. Your skin looks like it's made of ash and clay. There's a baby doll next to you and the photo of Bridget, you, and your pregnant wife. You set the doll adrift and start walking. This next part, well, it's just you, wandering a desolate beach while Bridget monologues the truth. The nightmares weren't yours. They were hers. Visions of the end. She explains her uterine cancer, the hospital visits, and the moment she crossed into the beach. That split her in two. Her Ha became Bridget in the real world, and her Ka became Amelie, living eternally on the beach. Because Amelie never aged, Bridget concocted the lie that Amelie was her daughter, a sickly child with an absent father. Even the name Amelie is a pun. Ame means soul in French, and Li, or lie, well, you get it. She began researching the beach and realized it connects to the dead, the past, the very history of Earth. The idea for the chiral network was born there. But then the first void out happened, and she panicked. In desperation, she turned to bridge babies. She wanted to understand the extinction entity inside herself, so she started experimenting on infants, trying to stop the inevitable. That's how Bridges was formed. That's why Cliff's son, you, were taken, and why she had you finish the network after her Ha died. She explains the cosmic layer next, that after the Big Bang, matter and antimatter should have destroyed each other. The fact that anything exists is a fluke. The universe wanted to correct that mistake, and mass extinctions are its way of cleaning up its own mess. But life is stubborn. Life refuses. Bridget says that maybe extinction itself is the key, that it's what makes life fight harder, adapt, endure. She tells you that the day she shot Cliff, she pulled the trigger twice. She knew it was a mistake. So she had Amelie find your beach and bring you back to life. She made you a repatriate. But that violated the natural order, and thus began the Death Stranding. BTs flooded in. The dead clung to life. Void outs escalated. Bridget says she had two options: let the world decay slowly or end it quickly, and she chose the latter. Sam collapses, exhausted, alone. You raise the gun, press it to your head, but instead of pulling the trigger, you throw it away. You hear Bridget's voice. I brought you and Cliff together so you'd know you were never abandoned. You have to live. You sprint towards the 5 floating figures in the sky, the former extinction entities of the Big Five, and hear your friends calling your name. You reach the shore and Bridget is there, waiting. She tells you not to give up, that you're still connected. She gestures to the floating entities, and suddenly you're yanked underwater. Deadman and Lou are pulling you back. You dive through the seam one final time before waking up at a press conference. Die Hardman is now president, giving a big ol' patriotic speech about rebuilding the world and honoring the unsung hero. You are really not there for it. You dip. Deadman finds you and explains how they pulled you back, using Bridget's umbilical cord still linked to Amelie's beach. But even that wasn't enough. It was your revolver, the one from Die Hardman that acted as a tether. They found you in a quiet corner of the beach, and they pulled you back. Deadman hugs you. He tells you the final truth. Your mother's name? Lisa Bridges. She was Cliff's common-law wife. Cliff was killed by someone named John, a man who vanished after Cliff's death, presumed dead, but later reappeared under a new name, Die Hardman. Deadman runs off and says he still doesn't trust the guy, and you're left alone. Die Hardman then approaches you and, well, he tells you everything. He killed Cliff for Bridget because he loved her, because he thought it would save everyone, but it haunts him. Cliff saved his life countless times, and still, he pulled the trigger. He became Die Hardman because Cliff refused to let him die. And that legacy is a curse he wears every day. He breaks down, thinking that maybe Cliff wants him to keep being Die Hardman. You tell him that's not what Cliff would want, and you shove his revolver back into his hands. You echo Bridget's words. That gun won't help you here. As Die Hardman gives you a heartfelt thank you, you wander off. You step off the elevator and Deadman is waiting for you. His expression says it all. He's holding Lou and something's wrong. You reach out instinctively, asking the only question that matters. Is Lou dead? The dead man shakes his head though. Not yet. However, the decommissioning order has come through. Now that America's back, Lou is officially marked for disposal at the incinerator. No ceremony or goodbyes, just some kind of standard operating procedure. Deadman tells you they can't risk necrosis, but knowing you, he figured you'd want to be the one to handle it yourself. He even offers you a choice. You could try taking Lou out of the pod and see what happens. But if you do that, you'd be breaking federal law. The United Cities of America is watching. Or is it? Deadman subtly tweaks your cufflink, taking it offline. He says that when it's like this, you can actually just remove it, disappear, go off grid. UCA can't follow you. You give him a hug, a real one, before turning and walking away with your BB. Outside, Fragile's waiting. She's got plans. She wants to rebuild her company, do things the right way this time. Then she casually drops this little nuclear bomb on your conscience. She didn't kill Higgs. Instead, she left him stranded on the beach, alone, forever. And then she asks if you want to join her, help her build something better. But you kinda shut her down hard. You tell her everything you touch, you lose. She cries out your name as the doors close behind you. It's a long walk to the incinerator, same one where you said goodbye to your mother at the start of the game, only now it's Lou in your arms. Once you arrive, you plug Lou in one last time and boom, another vision hits you. But this one's different. It's complete. It's not just your perspective. You see everything. You watch Bridget explain to John that you, baby Sam, are either going to be a BB candidate or a sacrifice to power the chiral network. You see John and Cliff reunite, Cliff's plan to escape, his desperation, his hope. You see Cliff rushing down the halls of the hospital, BBU in his arms, soldiers right behind him, alarms blaring. You see John, Die Hardman, helping, hesitating, trying to do the right thing. Then it shifts to Cliff, sealing himself in a room with his dead wife's body, bleeding out. He clutches you, his child, close. Then the guards storm in and they open fire. John rushes in, but it's too late. One of the guards hands Bridget the BB pod, but it's empty. Cliff took you out of it, tried to save you from being used. Bridget demands that John shoot him. John points the gun, but hesitates. And then Bridget grabs John's hand and pulls the trigger. Twice. Cliff collapses, but then we get the final twist. One of those bullets hit BBU, too. You drift through the seam, past the Dreamcatcher, past ethereal whales, past your father's dead body. And then you see it, Amelie cradling your tiny dead baby body. She holds you, sobbing, and heals the wound on your chest. She brings you back to life. And just beyond her, Cliff's ghost watches silently before he turns and walks into the sea. Amelie sets you into the water, and you sink, returning to the world of the living. Back in the pod, in the hospital room, Bridget tells John that she's going to raise you herself, that you're no longer fit to be a BB. You're something else now, her son. Back at the present, incinerator fires roar to life, and Lou's pod lies open on the floor. You took Lou out, but they're not breathing. You try CPR and everything, but nothing's working. There's a black cord coming out of their belly, just like a BT. You sob and hold them close, and then Lou coos. And their tiny little hand is Amelie's Kipu. Just like you once were, Lou has been brought back. The scene pans out as you see dozens of BB-like BTs flicker into view, but they're not the black, corrupted kind. They shimmer with white particles. Outside, you step into the rain, Lou in your arms, but the rain isn't timefall. It's clean. A rainbow then begins to glow overhead as birds sing. And then the epilogue. Your hand hovers over the photo of you, your wife, and Bridget. A tiny toddler's hand wraps around yours. You hear a soft giggle, and then you say it. Lou. Louise. Lou's a girl. And she's not a BB anymore. She's your daughter. So at this point, all right, we're going to explain the timeline, right? And basically just go over everything that happened from the beginning so that we can get the big picture and fully understand what this game is all about. Because up until now, I've just been kind of explaining the events of the game. But let's rip the whole Band-Aid off. First, we got the Big Bang, but something went wrong, and some matter actually survived. This matter would go on to create our known universe, which meant, Earth, right? Since we have Earth, we should also now establish the three main differences between the Death Stranding version of Earth and reality and ours. First, this alternate reality really likes connections between the dead and the living, and they manifest a dimension in between called the beaches. A beach is formed from a human's thoughts, their ego, their identity, all that. Non-human animals do not have beaches, so we can't recreate the what the fuck is oatmeal meme on the beach, unfortunately, for this little dog guy. Second, there is a mineral called chiralium that we understand to have been created during or after the Big Bang. The chiralium seems to originate, however, from the beach, possessing possessing anti-temporal properties, being in the same exact state as it was when the world was created. Basically, it's like unchanging cosmic gamer gunk. And the third main difference takes us back to the Egyptians. Yeah, so they were right about a bunch of shit. They believed a human was made up of two parts: Ha, the body, and the Ka, the soul. Basically, they thought there was a transition between death, which instead of life and death having a boolean, right, like a true or false, 1 or 0, instead your Ka slowly transitions from your Ha into the afterlife. How did they know this? Maybe they just were really good at guessing. Anyways, with the main differences out of the way, let's get back to the overarching creator of shit as we know it. There's something we understand to be known as the will of the cosmos, basically an Elden Ring outer god type motherfucker. And see, after Earth and all the things on it were created as a result of the Big Bang that turned into a big unwanted pregnancy, the will of the cosmos did not like this. They/them wanted an abortion for billions of years, a little past term, I think. As such, they created extinction entities over huge stretches of time, which caused the Big Five mass extinction events as far as humanity knows. The extinction entities were born by the cosmos, chosen basically to make sure the extinction actually happened. But life survived through each event thus far, which it's theorized happened because of the connection the extinction entities, the creatures themselves, had to life itself. So technically, since Trilobite was one of these creatures, Trilobite saved a bunch of species of the world from extinction. See, this is why I love Trilobites. It all comes full circle. And speaking of trilobites, the following are the chronological appearances of extinction entities throughout time: Trilobite, Ammonite, Parasaur, Mammoth, and the Iceman. And don't ask me why all of these just happen to line up and be things inside of Ark. Now let's fast forward to present day. Bridget Strand, a Homo sapien, is born. From an early age, she was plagued with nightmares of the end of the world, seeing herself ending it. Traumatized, she made plans to prevent it, but when she was 20, she was diagnosed with uterine cancer. She had surgery, and during the procedure, her Ka, her soul, was split from her Ha, her body. Her soul was stranded on her beach. She later explained that she believed it was the will of the cosmos that gave her cancer, since she, didn't want to end all of life as we know it, type shit. Fast forward at some point in time, Bridget became vice president of the United States so that she could become a girl boss and, have the power to make some changes to maybe hopefully save humanity. But then something real bad happened. The first void out. See, a doctor was performing a C-section on a brain-dead pregnant mother. He accidentally touched the umbilical cord of the baby, and this was when he became aware of another presence in the room, what we call a beached thing, or BT. A void out then occurred, which again is when the matter of a living person, a human, combines with the antimatter of a BT, and by now you should know all about what void outs do. Afterwards, there became experiments in Manhattan, New York on brain-dead pregnant women and their babies to figure out what the fuck was going on. The President of the United States and the Vice President, Bridget Strand, were overseeing the experiments, but for one reason or another void out happened, and it wiped Manhattan off the map. While Bridget survived by some means, the president did not. Thus, Bridget became the new president. Her fearing that her visions were becoming true, she started to freak out and establish Bridges, an organization dedicated to saving humanity. She started to experiment with bridge babies. Again, at this point in time, she was trying to stop whatever Death Stranding seemed to be rapidly approaching. There was a couple involved in these experiments: Cliff Unger, a special forces officer, and his common-law wife, Lisa Bridges. Lisa at some point in time was diagnosed as brain dead, but she was pregnant, and so Cliff, in his desperation to save his baby, allowed his wife and unborn baby to be involved. Cliff is reunited with an old military comrade named John, who is also Bridget's right-hand man. John, torn between his loyalty to Bridget and then Cliff, who saved his life so many times, told Cliff the truth about what was going to happen to his baby, which was that the baby would be sacrificed to the Chiral network. So they make a plan. Kill brain-dead wife, wife gone. Think about wife. Regret. Take son and run. So the running doesn't work out, and Cliff and his son, which is also you, Daryl Dixon, Norman Reedus, Sam Porter fucking Bridges, get shot. Bridget, after having just offed a baby, is like, oh, fuck, and has her Ka, Amelie, search for you and find you on your beach, where she then brings you back to life. But in doing so, remember the Death Stranding? Yeah, well, she just created the sixth one. Yippee. All of a sudden, after bringing you back to life, she permanently damaged the barrier between the world of the living and the dead, allowing for the Kas of dead bodies to, over the course of 48 hours, go to the beach, get covered in oil and gold and shit, and then go back to their bodies in the real world, where they mix with the body themselves, forming the beached thing. And then, at that point, they can be like, hey, on a living person. At which point, boom. People happen to die a lot, so therefore void outs begin to happen a lot. Bridget and the Bridges organization work to try and stop the Death Stranding, but I mean, what can really be done at this point? Eventually, she really starts to feel like it's all hopeless, and because she realizes the extinction event is probably going to happen no matter what, the will of the cosmos is just too goddamn strong, she gets pretty nihilistic and just decides to start speeding it up. This lady grooms a desperate incel named Higgs, who I'm very jealous of, because he's probably the most handsome male voice actor in the world, and she turns him into her little prophet of death, and he goes on to form the Homo Daemons. They orchestrate void outs to make people afraid so that they'd be willing to link up to the 5G internet, which, by the way, said 5G internet was the ultimate plan because it would connect everybody's beaches together. And once that happened, Amelie could then send a burst of antimatter from her beach through everybody else's beaches and into the world of the living to create such a big void out that even the Costco guys would not be able to handle such a big boom. Which brings us to the events of the games. Sam gets convinced to go save Princess Beach on the West Coast, links up the Chiral network, beats up an incel with mommy issues, begs his own mommy/sister not to end the world, at which point she agrees, detaching her beach from everybody else's, and makes the antimatter only flood her beach, which does something. Is she dead? Is she alive? Who knows? But whatever this did, it only delayed the inevitable and still upcoming extinction, which brings us to Death Stranding 2. Should we have connected? That's what she said, and also what the Cosmos said after the big pregnancy bang. And it also happens to be the question we face with the sequel game. Thanks for watching. Hi, this is the end of the video. If you made it this far, subscribe right now. Once you've done that, click on this video here. Either it's going to be the full story of Death Stranding 1 and 2 explained all wrapped up in a beautiful little package whenever it's released, or it'll be the next best video YouTube thinks that you'll like that I've made. Okay, love you, BB. Bye-bye.